Next time the class is offered, to definitely take the class. Do people agree is the class worthwhile?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Try it, just stumble upon it.
I want to add that it's really helpful to re-listen to all the classes are on tape, on video, so that you can watch your
Yes.
teachings. It's very
Well, and so that's kind of, what Graciela is saying is very interesting in terms of learning anything, But if you're learning something precious, like how to meditate, it's exceptionally useful, because just think about it. We don't think about it, but think about it, how we learn. The first thing is we hear something, and we may never have heard it before. So all sorts of our preconceptions, everything that we've been carrying with us, kind of block it and assess it and determine right away, right out of the gate, do I like it or not? So your first thing is just to hear. And if we become conscious of this process, we'll also see that we don't hear either, because we're spacing out, we're worrying about this and that. So we're sometimes not even in the room, so we don't hear the full thing. So that's number one, is to hear something. Then what's the second step? Graciela, we talked about this last week. What's the second step in the learning process? Do you remember? So this is also good too. This is why you'll find in the Tibetan tradition, the teacher will ask questions, because until you're put on the spot to have to use the information, it's not yours. So the second step in the process is to contemplate. We talked about it, you and I talked about it, is to contemplate what you've heard. This is private. I mean, you can talk to other people who were in the class and you can compare notes, but the first step is to hear it. The second step is to contemplate it. Like I said, in my case, the very first meditation course that I went to was 1 week long. It was all day, 1 week. And after that, I went away for 1 year contemplating everything that I'd heard, because what I'd heard was so profound and so different than anything that I'd been used to in the past. It would require some changes from my side, and I wasn't interested in changing. So your first step is to hear. Second step is to contemplate, to see if it's worthwhile, to see if it holds water, to see if it's interesting. And then what's the third step? Meditate. That's the third step. And what does meditation mean? To familiarize, to become familiar with. So you hear it, you assess it, you meditate on it. And when you meditate on whatever the topic is, it's like, this is only me speaking, this is like dipping a cloth into a vat of dye. You start with a blank slate, you dip it into the dye, and now they work together. The color and the cloth now picks up the color of the dye. So when you meditate on something, you now use what are the two things that we learned? What are the two things that we learned that we use in meditation?
The 2 kinds?
What?
Like the 2 kinds of meditation?
Yeah.
Stabilizing and analytical.
Yeah, concentration and stabilizing. So you concentrate on the topic, you stabilize on the topic, and then whether it is, and today we're going to do what I call the 2 types of meditation. One is analytical. So in the way that I like it, yes, in some cases it's taught that you've got your concentration and your analytical. From my point of view, that's not wrong, but to break it down even further, what makes more sense to me is that you have to have the concentration in any meditation you do. The mind has to be stabilized in any meditation you do. If you don't have the stabilized mind, then you won't have meditation. Your mind will be all over the place. So you have the stabilized mind, and the two types of meditation broken down a little bit further are analytical, where you move your mind into a realistic position. And I actually have this document, this paper, that maybe we can, it's on Tripton Kunga Center stationery. So maybe you've got it in the computer. But if you could please scan this and then send it to people. And I'd like the original back if possible at some point. But it explains what did I just say? The analytical meditation. It explains it, but in very short order. An analytical meditation moves your mind into a realistic position, because we're not realistic, and it's very painful. So today we're going to do an equanimity meditation. And I've heard people tell me that just that meditation completely changed their life and completely changed their experience with the world. There was one girl down in Miami who used to get so angry every Saturday, because that's when the the grounds people came. And they would come early in the morning, and they would be right outside her window, and she would have worked all week, and she was really looking forward to a morning of sleep, and she couldn't have it because the groundskeepers were right outside her window, and she'd be filled with rage over this. But after the equanimity meditation, she saw them completely differently. She saw them as people striving for a living, who had to get up very early. And in the hot summer Florida sun, wear clothing that covered every inch of their body, including masks and hats. So instead of seeing an enemy, you see what I'm saying? Are you following? She saw them as her Saturday enemy. Instead of seeing them that way, now her heart was filled with compassion for what they were doing. And they weren't there every Saturday to irritate her, which is the way she perceived them when they were her enemy. They were there trying to feed their family, and maybe send money back to their home country. That's what she saw after doing the equanimity meditation. So that's what I mean, where you move your mind into a realistic position. Does that make sense? The other kind of meditation, which is what we're going to jump into right now, is called the visualization meditation. And with a visualization meditation, you mingle your mind. So the one was move your mind into a realistic position. This one is where you mingle your mind with your already perfect qualities. So the fact of the matter is, what's called in the Buddhist terminology, the Buddha nature, or the clear light mind, is there all the time. It's not we have to go out and get it, because it's already there. It's not like we have to do something to see the sun. The sun doesn't go away. Have you ever seen the sun go away? The sun doesn't go away. Clouds can come, the earth can turn, but the sun doesn't go away, right? Am I right or wrong? If the sun doesn't go away, our clear light mind doesn't go away. It's always there. But sometimes we have the inner atmospheric conditions of delusions, of seeing the enemy when it's just a hardworking person. Does that make sense? So what we do with the visualization meditation is we charge our battery. So you've all had a battery die, right? You can't run your car, right? Because the battery's dead. I just saw it last week in my neighborhood. And this lady had a box, right? And this box was hooked into her car. And this box gave an oomph to her battery. So now her battery worked. Well, that's what we do with visualization meditation. It's that simple. We use an external image of purity to ignite our battery, to remind us. Because a lot of times what happens in our world is people carry depression. I was reading about this model. I honestly don't want to, something Bouchard, she's married to Tom Brady. No, that's the wrong one. Maybe it's the right one. Anyway, something Evangelista.
Oh, yeah.
Diana Evangelista, something
Yeah.
Evangelista. Anyway, I was looking at her. You can Google her. She had some kind of surgery that was intended to make her more beautiful, and it was a backfire, and she had bad results from it. And she said that she went into serious self-loathing. She's not the only one. A lot of people have self-loathing. A lot of people have a problem in their life. It becomes, the expression from a molehill into a mountain. We do that. We don't do it to other people so much, but we'll do it to ourselves. We'll see all of our faults, and then we exaggerate them, and then we become depressed, and we have self-loathing, and we see the world through this. So with the visualization meditation, we charge our battery so that we can let the light shine. Does that make sense? At least remember, you have to hear, you have to contemplate, and now we're going to meditate. So that was a speed course for you. Did you have something to say, Ralph? You're just being deferential. Thank you. Very nice. Okay, so I'm very excited about today because there is no way in the world anybody could have given you a better gift than these last 5 weeks. Because these last 5 weeks, learning how to meditate is just the best gift in the whole world anybody could give you. Best gift in the whole world. And now it's up to you, because the training wheels are coming off, and it's up to you to meditate. I strongly suggest that you talk with Nicole. You make sure you have meditation sessions through the center, because meditating with a group is so much easier, because you make a commitment to go there, and you don't let your friends down, where you could let yourself down very easily. Oh, she needs a cushion.
Garcia's gonna get her one. Right, Garcia? Thank you so much. And yes, every Sunday, 10:15 to 10:45, we do meditation here in person.
Okay, so we're going to start when they get back into the, any questions about what I've said? Does it make sense, or are you doubtful? Anybody doubtful? You're doubt, oh, Javier's on board.
Just to be very, very clear.
Yeah, be clear.
Very clear. We have two essential types of meditation: concentration and stabilizing. And then a subset,
Concentration and analytical.
concentration and analytical.
That's how it's described in some books.
But you were also describing it as stabilization. were you not?
Concentration, stabilization.
Concentration. That's,
Yeah.
okay.
I have, because remember, I've been doing this for 50 years. So I've molded this into, I've listened, I've contemplated, and I've practiced. And then I've come up with my own inner experience that gives me different words than some people use. I love to call the concentration meditation stabilizing. Why do I love to call it the stabilizing meditation? Because I do my best to use it when my mind is crazy, when my mind is all over the place. I can't say I am 100% successful, but I can say I'm more successful than when I don't use it. Because what happens is when you just do the breathing meditation, just that one, it stabilizes the mind. That's concentration meditation.
Right, that makes perfect sense. That's why I'm going over it.
Yeah, no, this is important. Now, then when you do the other meditate, what are the other meditations?
Which is analytical, right? So we have concentration or stabilization. Then we have analytical, correct? And then I thought there were two subsets that you were describing in that.
Analytical and visualization.
Okay.
And the thing is this, that you can't do an analytical meditation or a visualization meditation if you haven't stabilized the mind. So the very first thing you do is stabilize your mind. Well, actually, you can create your motivation. Remember, we talked about that. And motivation, okay, where motivation comes in, motivation is that which gets you to your seat. It's that compels you to meditate. And how you get that energy is by being fed up with how you are, fed up with this cycle of constantly recurring problems. You know, haven't you all experienced it, where you say, oh, the problem's over now. Now I'm here. I'm going to always be here. I found the peace. I'm here. And then what happens? The next thing, you know, somebody dings your car, or you run out of gas, or somebody says something you don't like to hear. And where's that peace? So if we start to analyze this, if we start to look at the way the mind works, is we are in a cycle of constantly recurring problems. You must take a look at the way your life is. It is a cycle of I call it an emotional roller coaster. Like this. And until we see that, we're like my father. I've used my father as an example. My father was a very angry person, and he called it normal and natural. And that's what we do as we circle in this, when we cycle, and when we're in this cycle of constantly recurring problems, when we're riding the emotional roller coaster. That's life. It never dawns on anybody that you can get off that cycle of constantly recurring problems. You can get off the emotional roller coaster. It never dawns on anybody. So you have to become fed up with the way you are. And you have to recognize, as I told my father, normal, natural, not necessary. Until you can see that it's not necessary, you don't have strong motivation. It's that not necessary part that'll compel you to show up. Does that make sense? Because you're tired, you don't want to do that anymore. You don't want to have a foul mouth and get angry at people. You don't want to be miserly. You don't want to be jealous. You don't want to be tired and angry. You don't want these things anymore. And then you have good motivation. But in the case of what we're doing here inside a Mahayana Buddhist temple, is that the highest motivation is to do it for others. Because once you become clear about yourself and how you're operating, now you look out and you see how, with so many people who don't even have a chance to enter this room. They don't have a chance to hear what we're hearing. It doesn't, like my poor father, he doesn't have a clue. His parents modeled anger. He didn't have a chance to get out of it, except that one time I told him it wasn't necessary. But otherwise he wasn't inclined, didn't have the inclination. That's so heartbreaking. And when you see it like that, then you've got great energy, because you're just one person suffering. If that's all it was, big deal. But it's not the way it is. Everybody, without fail, is suffering. For sure. Doesn't matter how much money they have. Doesn't matter how beautiful they are. Doesn't matter where they live, how much education they have. Everyone's suffering for the same reasons I just explained. So when you see that, and you see that you're the person that's here, then it's like, wow, I have to do this for others. I have to free myself from these delusions that are controlling me so that I can be of benefit to others. And your life takes a completely different meaning. You get up in the morning with enthusiasm, with motivation to be of benefit to others. And you go to bed at night with the same enthusiasm because you've got the cookie. You don't just have the cookie, you've got the whole cake. You're really lucky. You've got something that somebody else doesn't have. And that doesn't mean you're an evangelist. Heavens forbid. I mean, you don't go out and just shout it to the world. You go out with a smile on your face and change the day of somebody. You go out with understanding when they harm you. They weren't harming you. They were harming themselves. Have you ever spoken harshly to anybody? Okay, who's really being harmed? Yourself, because you're creating the habit to have harsh speech. It's so easy to have harsh speech if you've practiced it. My father had a PhD in anger because he practiced it all the time. So when you don't accept it, when somebody's angry at you and you don't accept it, it's like giving somebody a gift and the hands are behind their back. They can't take it. So when somebody throws anger at you and you respond with understanding because you've been there before, you've been angry before, you know what it's like to be out of control. So instead of retaliating, this word I hear on TV is get justice. Instead of that, you respond with compassion. The whole world starts to change at that point. At least your whole world starts to change. And if you don't respond to somebody's anger, they can't keep giving it to you. Eventually it has to peter out. Okay, so what is your name?
Adriana.
Oh, I remember we met before, Adriana. And any more questions? Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, everybody good? Javier jumped around. Javier's on the other side. Okay, so let's sit comfortably. And we're going to check our posture. So as this is a meditation class, there is a proper posture, just like if you were if you were horseback riding, English style, there's a proper posture. Western style, there's a proper posture. If you're skiing, there's proper posture. So meditating, there's also a proper posture. This is not arbitrary. This is where you put your body into a neutral position where you know you're not harming your body. And you can leave your body there even if it starts to complain. You know you're not harming it and you can leave it there. Also, part of these posture points play into the bigger picture of when you're doing longer meditations instead of just short 10-minute meditations. So the proper posture is to start with your base. If you're sitting on the floor, you want to find a comfortable cross-leg position. If you're on the chair, you want your feet flat on the floor. And then building up from your base, you've got your hands. The left is on the bottom, the right is on the top. Fingers are aligned and palm is cupped. This brings the thumbs together naturally at into a triangle, which is approximately at your navel level. Going up from that, you've got your arms. They should be open, not pressed against your body. Again, this is just common sense. In the event that you were meditating when it was really hot and you had your arms flush against the body, you could develop perspiration and be distracted by the perspiration. Now you've got some space, and if you do perspire, the perspiration will just drip. and it won't make you all slimy. So just practical. Then of all the parts of the meditation posture, the singularly most important part of that posture is what, guys? The spine. The singularly most important part of your posture is your spine. It should be straight but not rigid. You can check your spine by checking your shoulders. They should be back and down and directly over your hips. You can visualize your spine made up of golden coins versus a image of a golden rod. I like to use gold as it's bright and shiny, and that starts to wake you up from the inside out. So imagine your spine is made up of golden coins that are, for our purposes, perfectly aligned, one on top of the other. It's not solid, however. There's a little slit of light between each coin. Not solid. We don't want heavy or solid. Now your head is a slightly forward. What this does is it naturally casts your vision down towards the floor. However, we do not want to be distracted by our vision, so lower your eyelids until there's just a slit of light. The reason you leave a slit of light is this could help you not fall asleep, because you leave just a slit of light. If at this point there is still some vision, then defocus. Somewhere between the tip of your nose and the floor, suspend your vision. The tongue is on the upper palate, behind the front teeth. The jaw is loosely opened, and the lips are lightly closed. This is your ideal meditation posture. So we're going to sit for just a minute with the posture to become comfortable with it, to become familiar with it. If we have not been practicing the posture, it can seem weird or odd or uncomfortable. It's simply because we're not familiar with it. And now we're going to practice some kind of stabilizing meditation. If we had all been here since the beginning, I would leave you in silence for you to choose the technique that you like the most. But since we have some new people in the group, we're going to practice, again, what I call the stabilizing meditation. And that's where you have one job only, and that's to put your attention on the bottom side tip of the nose at that point where you breathe in and you breathe out. And the only task we have for the next 5 minutes, which is 300 seconds, which ticks away very quickly, the only job we have is to experience the very slight sensation that occurs at the bottom side tip of the nose. Every time we breathe in, and every time we breathe out. That's the only job we have. Don't follow the breath in or out. What you're doing is putting your full attention on that bottom side tip of the nose where the nostrils are. And because there are nerve endings and little hairs in the nose, when you breathe in and when you breathe out, there's a very slight sensation. We've probably never noticed it before unless we've had a cold, because we don't often put our attention there. But now it is our sole focal point. Now, in reality, the mind will not stay there. The focus will not stay there. In reality, there are 6 ways you can be distracted. You can see something, smell something, taste something, hear something, feel something, or think something. Those are the only ways you can be distracted. What we want to do is to develop our concentration to the level where we can identify what is distracting us. For example, if you feel something, like you get an itch, or you get a pain, simply recognize it. Don't stay with it. Don't make it your focal point. Label it, abandon it, and put your attention back on the object of concentration. The itch may continue to call you, but you must continue to recognize it, abandon it, and put your attention back on the object of concentration. You cannot be experiencing the very slight sensation of each inhalation and each exhalation while you are also experiencing the itch. Same with a thought. Recognize that you're being distracted by a thought. Abandon the thought and put your attention back on the object of concentration. This is your only job. Now, this is a very simple meditation to explain, but a very difficult meditation to do. But when you try this meditation, you start to see how chaotic the mind is. But the more we practice this meditation, the more we become familiar with it, and the more subdued our mind is. If you happen to be an insomniac, you can kiss those days goodbye. Because the only reason you can't sleep is because you're focusing on something else. By practicing this meditation, you should even feel your body being less tense. And even after just a short little period like this, our mind should be calmer and clearer. So now we want to bring to mind our motivation. We never want to go straight into the body of the meditation. That would be like driving your car without fuel. Your motivation is what gives you the energy to do the meditation, to run the course. And as we described a few minutes ago, the highest motivation is to engage in the meditation for the benefit of others. So when you start this meditation, think about that. Think about all the others. We're just one individual, but there are countless others out there. And until we become part of the solution, we are part of the problem. A lifeguard who can't swim is useless. He's not a lifeguard. So in order for us to help others, the first job we have is to help ourselves. Just like on the airplane, they always tell you, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then you help others. So try to think about this deeply. You know the expression, if not you, who? If not now, when? Time is ticking. There's no assurance that we will have a next breath. So since time is so precious, so unpredictable, so fragile, we have to seize the moment and meditate. Because the last thing we want to do is to die in confusion. If we're confused now, just imagine how confusing it is to lose this precious body that we've spent our lifetime taking care of, clothing beautifully, giving medical treatment, putting in a beautiful house, putting in a beautiful car. And at the end of the day, we're dead. But what will help us is understanding. And when we understand, we become like a calm, soothing salve for others. How wonderful would that be? So charge yourself up that you're going to meditate for just maybe 10 minutes, 600 seconds. I guess 600 seconds. On a visualization meditation where we mingle our mind with our already perfect qualities to ignite our battery, to charge us up. And we're doing this not just for our own sake, but so that we can be a kinder and wiser person for others. So visualize in the space above your head a sphere of light. It's white light. It's pure, transparent, and formless. and it's somewhat smaller than the size of your own head. And it's about an inch above your head. So put your attention there. So in other words, we're not putting our attention any longer on the bottom side tip of the nose. We've already concentrated our mind, focused our mind. So now with that level of focus, put your attention on the sphere above our head of white light radiating energy. And this now is your object of concentration. Don't worry if the image doesn't appear sharply to you. This may be the first time you've done this meditation. So this might be kind of weird for you, and it might be hard to visualize. That doesn't matter. But what you can do is you can feel it there. It's a sphere of white radiating light energy. And it's above your head, about an inch. Slightly smaller than the size of your own head. White, transparent, radiating light energy that represents all universal goodness, all universal love, all universal wisdom. This sphere of white, radiating light energy above your head represents the fulfillment of your personal potential, your highest potential. It's perfect love, perfect patience, perfect generosity, perfect compassion, and it's above your head. And it's radiating in 360 degrees without discrimination. Perfection energy knows no bounds and is non-discriminatory. It can only radiate. And you can even feel it as it enters into you. You can feel the warmth of this perfection energy radiating from the sphere of light, slightly smaller than the size of your own head, radiating in 360 degrees, the fulfillment of your own highest potential. And now very, very slowly, this sphere of white radiating light energy begins to decrease in size. It never stops radiating, but it kind of concentrates as the sphere becomes smaller and smaller. This is your object of concentration now. So far, we've had different objects of concentration: the breath in and out, the sphere of light slightly smaller than the size of your head. And now your focal point is decreasing that sphere of light very slowly. Until it's about 1 inch in diameter, maybe the size of the first knuckle on your thumb. It's still above your head. It still represents your own highest potential. It's still radiating in 360 degrees. But now it's just a little thumb above your head. And now again, very slowly, this small ball of pure white light descends through the top of your head. Feel it enter through the top of your head. And very slowly, it's going to travel down alongside your spinal column. Very slowly. And as it descends, feel it radiating in your body. So any sickness that you have, any tension that you have, any worry, concern, irritation, upset, anything that's lodged inside you just turns into light. And this little sphere, 1 inch in diameter, of white light, radiating energy, slowly descends to your heart center. And there it rests, right in the center of your heart. This is not your physical heart. This is your psychic heart. Inside you is your own perfect mind, your own perfect energy, represented by this small little 1 inch sphere of white light radiating energy. This is you. This is your natural state. And now again, very slowly, the sphere of white light begins to expand once more. And now slowly it fills your entire body. And as this happens, visualize that all the solid parts of your body dissolve and become white light radiating energy. All of your organs, those hard bones, the blood running through your veins, the blood vessels, the tissue, your skin, all becomes pure, formless white light. And now your object of concentration is to focus on the experience of your body as a body of light. Think that all problems, all negativities, all hindrances have completely vanished. There's nothing stuck in your mind whatsoever that produces an unpleasant experience. It's all been dissolved into white light radiating energy. And now you have reached your birthright. You have reached a state of wholeness and perfection. And this produces within you a feeling of serenity and joy. You exude serenity and joy. And this is your object of concentration, uniting your experience with the feeling of serenity and joy, because you are a body of light. If any thought or distracting object should appear in your mind, don't go with it, because it's not your object of concentration. Your object of concentration is this experience of serenity and joy radiating from your body of light, outward and inward. So dissolve any thought or distracting object dissolve it into that white light. It's gone. So for 1 second, 60 seconds, 1 minute, 60 seconds, just hold that experience of serenity and joy. Radiating from your white light, radiating body. So what we've done in just this very short period of time is so profound. Almost there's no words to describe what we've done. So we don't want to lose the experience of this visualization meditation where we have mingled our mind with our already perfect qualities. Hold that, maintain that feeling, but relax your body and your mind, and we can engage in a little discussion. Okay, so I would like to know from people if they had any experience with this meditation, or was it just too hard? Graciela was good? Okay, I can see you look like white light radiating energy. But is there anybody that did have a hard time, that couldn't make the focus at all, got no experience, thought it was a balderdash? Bad investment of your time. You could have been having a Starbucks instead. And trust me, Dunkin' Donuts is better. I mean, you don't have to be shy if you didn't get it. Anybody didn't get it? Javier, are you white light radiating energy from Puerto Rico?
Yes.
You look like it. Okay, so this is a visualization meditation. Mingle your mind with your already perfect qualities. I mean, I felt a change by doing that, particularly, remember now, whatever you focus on is going to be your reality. If you focus on your anger, I mean, it's awful, isn't it? When something goes wrong and then it becomes our focal point. Nobody's had that experience, Somebody says something to you, somebody betrays you, somebody hurts you, and now they're the enemy, and that becomes your focal point. That's not the body of light. But if you were to try to do the body of light meditation when you were feeling that, I promise you, you can change your experience. I promise you. But only if you do the meditation. You can't just sit down and read the words. Remember, we've talked about this before. You can't just read the words. The words are only there to help you get into the space of changing the way we think. You know the old expression, you can't get the results you want, a different result, from doing the same thing you've always done. If you're going to continue to do the same thing you've always done, you're going to continue to get the same experience. But just imagine if we had the motivation every time we felt down, every time we felt distracted, every time we felt angry, every time we felt confused. What if we did the body of light meditation?
would become the light.
Yeah, because that's what meditation is to become familiar. Now, you see all these deities on the wall. You see these in Buddhist art. You see these deities. You've probably seen them, outside of even this temple, this meditation center. These are the body of light, but they're more constructed. They actually do exist. These are light form bodies. Remember, we were talking about the Dhyani Buddhas. Read about the Dhyani Buddhas. There are all these energies. For example, the white lady, the first one there, that's white Tara, and her energy is long life. That's her energy. So when you wish well for someone, or you want yourself to have a long life, but you need to have it, you should have. If you get really into this, then you would find a teacher. It's really important to find a teacher who can give you an initiation so you can get this, you can do these meditations. I'm only explaining that what we're doing now with this body of light, which is so simple. I mean, was that half an hour? The whole thing beginning to end? Less than a half an hour. You can do it in 15 minutes. But that's a precursor to being involved with more advanced meditations. But the dynamics are the same. What happens with a visualization meditation? I'm going to say it, you got to learn it or you won't get it. You mingle your mind with your already perfect qualities. Your mind is already perfect. Some people can't stand to hear that because they identify with their downer. A lot of people identify with being depressed. I'm not joking. Oh, that's an identity that people carry around with them. Poor me. Always me. Why me? That's an unfortunate identity, because if that's the lens through which you see life, then the experience you get is unpleasant. But if you recognize that you're a body of light, that you're all perfection, I mean, we have to practice it, but we have to recognize it first. We have to recognize the potentials there. We have the potential not to be depressed. We have the potential not to be angry, because already it's perfect in here. But our life's experiences and the way we've been trained and what our parents modeled, because our parents didn't know better, has produced sometimes a result that needs to be upgraded. And that's what we do through meditation, is upgrade our self-image, which upgrades our experience, which upgrades our ability to be of benefit to the world. And it doesn't even mean that I'm not saying, you're going to be, some highfalutin person, just the person that walks into a restaurant and can deal with an ornery waitress without being ornery themselves. Does that make sense? Because she hasn't ever experienced being a body of light. And she's stressed, and she's got 2 kids at home, and she has no husband, and her car is broken, and she doesn't make enough, and you're irritating to her. We don't see things that way. We see it through the lens of what you do to me. So if we're a body of light, then the lens is much better. Does this make sense, or does it sound like Disneyland, like an impossibility?
Sounds like Disneyland. But Disneyland's cool.
Yeah,
And you got to go to Disneyland to experience it.
yeah,
You've got, for me, it's practice.
yeah,
I'm
practice.
sitting here, I struggle with it. I struggle with distractions. I struggle with the mindset and the motivation, because my habit of mind for decades and decades, my whole life has been negative, negative, negative.
Oh,
It's
boy.
been to see myself as darkness, not as light. So it's not a.
But as I told you the other day, I mean, I've known you
you.
for a number of years now. I have no idea how many, but the change in you, I don't know if you notice it, but I notice it. You're so much kinder, because you're so other focused. I told you that. I told you right after the party. I found you the most engaging conversationalist because you genuinely cared about the other person and you genuinely put yourself out there for the other person. My experience of you when you first started to come to the center was it was about me, and you were introverted and you were focused on me. But I've seen you show a completely different face. And I don't know if you appreciate this or if you're going with the experience that I'm seeing. You're quicker to smile, you're very kind, and you're so interested in improving. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't backslide. Oh my God. Of course we backslide. But just like you'd be kind to your child, I mean, isn't it? If you've had a child, you know that sometimes you're very, very gentle, right? Sometimes you're not gentle. Because if they keep running in front of the car that's coming down the street, there's going to be problems. So this is where, again, I go back to this thing that we have to become our own therapist. So if you're continually doing the bad habits and you're continually stroking yourself when you're doing the bad habits, you've got to be harsh with yourself. You know, you've got to get yourself back into the groove. But sometimes, you know, things, you know, we can be practicing, and we can feel even a little sense of pride that we've made some improvements. And then somebody says something to us that we don't like. And right away, we're back to that, you know. Okay, laugh at it. It's a backslide. You know what it is? It's a blessing. Because now you get to see what's going on inside. So if there's, you know, certainly, you know, I think you're wonderful. You know, that your enthusiasm, your dedication, your honesty, and your commitment to improving. And I hope that you're getting an experience of, you know, liking yourself more. Yeah, good. You know, it's very interesting because the depression, if you think about it, is simply anger turned inwards. So, but we, you know, we have to be honest with ourselves. If that's what we're going through, that's what we're going through. It doesn't mean to push it down. I did that when I first started to meditate. I was like looking at these people who were really, really seriously much more advanced than I was. And I was like self-flagellating, you know, like, oh, you can do it. Why can't you do it? I was beating myself up, and I was living at a retreat center. It's now called Vajrapani Institute. I was one of the founders, and we were living outdoors. I was living on the ground with a piece of plastic over me, and in inclement weather. And I was just beating myself up for not being a better human being. And then I found out I could take a shower at the university, and my whole life changed because we didn't have showers. We didn't have water on the land, but I found out I could sneak into the girls' gym and take a shower, and I had levity. So sometimes we have to do that. You know, sometimes we have to take ourselves out for a hot fudge sundae or a Dunkin' Donuts or out to dinner. You know, we can't just be putting the screws on ourselves all the time. We wouldn't do it to anybody else. So when you practice meditation, you have to learn balance. Does that make sense? And again, that's where we are a special circle of friends called the Sangha, and that's where we should be able to turn for help. Honest help, not the help that says, oh, you deserve to suffer. Of course they were wrong. How bad of them. No, the help that will tell you how to redirect your thinking so you get a better result. If you're not interested in hearing, don't ask. But if you're interested in somebody, a friend, putting you back on the track, then ask a Dharma friend to help you get back on track. Any sense? Make sense? New people, is this way like too much? No. Oh yay, oh yay. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is a analytical meditation. And what happens in the analytical meditation? What?
Bring our mind to a more realistic position.
Yeah. So I like to use, you know, certain things catch me. And so with the visualization meditation, You mingle your mind with your already perfect qualities. With an analytical meditation, you move your mind. So you've got mingle and move. For me, that's helpful, rather than that. I know that I know when I'm thinking about it, it's got to be something's there I'm missing. Mingle, move, mingle, move, mingle, move. So we're going to do an analytical meditation where we move our mind into a realistic position. Everybody ready to try? Okay. So again, we're going to take our posture. Remember, there's 7 points. So check them out yourself. It's your base, how you're sitting, your hands, your arms, your back, your neck, your head, how it goes slightly forward, your eyes, your lips, tongue, and teeth. Check them all out. And just sit with this posture for a minute. The posture is actually very helpful, although the posture is not meditation. The posture is posture, but it's an environment for your body that facilitates the meditation, and the meditation happens with the mind. And remember now, for just 1 minute, we're going to put our attention on our breath. We're going to place our attention on the bottom side tip of the nose and experience the very slight sensation of each inhalation and each exhalation. And that's the only job we have for less than a minute. And this is the stabilizing meditation where we bring our mind into a calm, focused position. And now we're going to remind ourselves about why we're here. This is called the motivation, where you generate this strong intention to overcome self-centered bias and judgments, and to develop the mind of perfect equanimity and balance towards other. It's not what we have right now. We love them to death, we hate them to death, or we just don't care about them. And now we're going to deal with that, so that our mind is moved into a realistic position. And we're going to do this for our own sake, so that our experience in life is no longer painful. And by learning this ourselves, we are in a better position to help others. How wonderful that would be. So now visualize in the space in front of you 3 people. Imagine somebody you like, somebody you dislike, and someone you feel indifferent towards. I think we all know who we consider a friend and who we consider an enemy. The person we feel indifferent towards could be somebody on the opposite side of the gas pump. or somebody who checks us out at Publix. Just someone we haven't put much thought into. So now with the image of your friend in the forefront, focus on this person. Remember, this becomes your object of concentration, and allow your feelings for this person to arise strongly. Feel your conviction that this person is definitely and truly a friend. That is, a person who is good for you and fulfills your needs and wishes. They fulfill your needs and wishes. And concentrate also on how you really want this person to be happy. So hold this person in your mind. See how they make you happy. Try to analyze, why is it that you feel happy around them? And it's because they fulfill your needs and wishes. And now take a look at how you wish them well. Now, hold that person there, but switch your attention to the person you've labeled an enemy, the person you dislike, the person who is not kind to you, the person who does not satisfy your needs, the person who annoys you and makes you angry, who hurts you. Regard this person carefully. Look carefully at the feelings you have about this person. So now you probably have two different feelings going on. One set of feelings belongs to the so-called friend. The next set of feelings belong to this enemy. Now finally shift your attention to the so-called stranger. The person you just barely know, but whom you neither like nor dislike. Look carefully at that person and note carefully your feelings of indifference. It's all about you. The one person makes you happy because they satisfy your needs and you wish them well. And they're a ray of sunshine in your life. The next person makes you angry and annoyed, and they don't satisfy your needs, and you may wish them evil. You may wish them harm. You may not want to admit it, but that's what you may be wishing for them. So the next person, you just could give a flip. Don't care either way, because they haven't done anything to or against you, for or against. So consider and recognize that the nature of your relationships, which each of these three people and the labels you have put on each of them are based solely on what they do or don't do for you at this point in time. It's all about you. Think of people who have been your friend, but then became your enemy. Surely this has happened in your life. Or vice versa. Think about the enemy who became your friend. The person you couldn't stand. And then somehow they said one kind word and your feeling towards them began to change. Surely this has happened. And then think about the stranger who either moved into a friend position or an enemy position based on what they did for you. The person pumping gas at the gas station that you pay little mind to, didn't even smile at, all of a sudden hands back $100 bill that you dropped when you got out of the car. And now this person's your best friend. Or the stranger who opened up their car door and dented your new car, who suddenly becomes your enemy. Play with this in your mind so that you see that each of these labels, friend, enemy, stranger, is temporary. Each of these labels is impermanent. And they exist according to the situation at the current time. So now let's move our attention back to the friend, the person who does things for us, the person who makes us smile, the one we wish well. And imagine a situation that would cause the friendship to end. Just play with it. Imagine if you found out your friend was sleeping with your husband, or your friend was embezzling from you, or giving drugs to your children. Or imagine your friend turning against you because you did those things to them. Certainly, we have had this happen. Even if we go back to being little children, it happens. And experience the resentment and the anger and the hurt that you would feel in such a situation. It's very important that you make this live. That best friend, you did something they didn't understand and they ended up hating you, or they did something that you didn't understand and you ended up hating them. Imagine it and feel it. Now, this person that you've labeled friend for so long, you've held so dear, that you wished well, but things have changed. So do you still feel warm, friendly feelings towards that person? Do you still wish him well or her well? You still want that person to be happy. Where is your friend now? So remember that this person was not your friend before you were acquainted. They're not a self-existent friend. They became your friend because of the situation where they met your needs. And recognize how easily this person could cease to be your friend just as you have imagined. And then think to yourself that there is no sound reason for feeling kind and loving towards only the friend of the moment. Relationships have changed in the past and will continue to change. Today's friend could very easily become tomorrow's enemy. So in fact, let's turn our attention towards the present enemy, the person you dislike, who doesn't help you in any way and potentially harms you. And imagine a situation in which you could be drawn together and become close. A common interest, a word of praise or kindness. Look at that person and look at your feelings towards them very carefully. If they give you a Christmas present, if they tell you you look pretty, do you feel your feelings soften? Do you feel you're being warmer to that person? You can learn to feel warmly towards your enemies. This has happened before and will happen again. So why do we hold so strongly to the concept that this person is definitely an enemy? Now move your attention to the stranger. Imagine how one act of kindness or one act of anger from this person could immediately turn him or her into a friend or an enemy, respectively. There is no inherent, definite stranger there. There is no sound reason for the feelings of indifference that we hold on to. Remember that your present friend and your present enemy were both strangers to you beforehand. And this enemy, this stranger, could become a friend or an enemy now. It was so easy to have happen. So maintain your awareness of these three people in front of you. Think about the fragile impermanence of these relationships. It is only your misconceived belief in the concreteness of these labels of friend, enemy, and stranger that holds your mind back from the possibility of change and fluidity. The fact is that your friend, your enemy, and your stranger are no different than you. They all want happiness just as much as you do. In this respect, we are all equal. Also, everyone is equal in having the potential to develop their minds to the fullest extent and to achieve ultimate clarity and compassion. The differences that we see in people are superficial. They are based only on our mistaken and narrow self-centered views. In fact, everyone is equal in deserving our care and compassion. Maybe you even feel a shift inside you right now from this very short meditation. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this means that we should not discriminate at all. On a practical level, our ability to distinguish between actions and individuals is necessary. Naturally, we feel closer to some people, and naturally, it's wise to keep our distance from others. But that is not contradictory to the meditation we just did. The point of this meditation is to develop equal concern or equal regard for everyone, for their well-being, whether they harm or help us at this present point in time. We need to see that the labels that we put on others are often arbitrary, mistaken, and very changeable. So seal in any little glimmer of an altered view that you got from this meditation. Remember, the analytical meditation moves your mind into a realistic position, holding tightly to the friend, enemy, stranger label is not realistic. So feel an open heart and an open mind, ready to let go of all of our indiscriminate prejudices. So that we are a better person and better able to help others. So we've done 2 amazing meditations today. One where we mingled our mind with our already perfect qualities, and the other where we moved our mind into a more realistic position. Amazing way to spend a Sunday. So feel good about yourself. Not a worldly good, but a divine sense of pride deep in your heart. How amazing what you have just done today. And look how many people are not here. So many people did not enjoy this experience today. So seal in all of the positive imprints that you've planted on your mind stream. Dedicate everything that you've done to the highest fulfillment of your potential so that you can be of benefit to others. And let that warm feeling of divine pride deep in your heart radiate out throughout your entire body and mind continuum. May the precious mind of compassion, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. I don't have the prayer book. If we want to do the long life prayers, I don't know. I don't have it.
I'm sorry, we don't either. It's okay.
Okay. Okay, well, the point that we make by doing some prayers is that if there's been any way that I've been able to help you today or the last 5 weeks, any way whatsoever, if there's anything that I've said that has made sense to you and is helping you to change your life for the positive, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the fact that I was lucky enough to have met enlightened beings, beings who actually have walked the path and have perfected themselves so that they were able to get through to a numbskull like me. So, it's just to remember that it's anything good that comes from me is certainly because of the wonderful teachers that I've had in my life like that. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the schedule. So next Sunday, there's going to be a meditation here.
From 10:15 to 10:45.
10:45.
Uh-huh. And then there'll be a talk. There's a fellow from, you've got Marcos next week,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll do, the talk will be in Zoom next week for the most of the month of March, but here, you can either join from Zoom from home, or you can come here and we'll watch him on the big screen here. Actually, at the end of the month, we have Venerable Amy coming in person for a few days. And then in April, we have Venerable Rubina. All the details are on our website. Also sign up to receive our newsletters to stay informed about what we have going on weekly. If you want the details from today's class and the registration, the link to the recordings, just once again, email us and let us know if you're not already on that list. Jackie, thank you so much for offering this session to us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
totally my
And
pleasure.
thank you all for coming.
Yeah, nice to see everybody. Nice to meet you, Melissa. Nice to meet you. Yes.